Okay, welcome back to the Trinity County October 6th board meeting, and just a little bit of housekeeping prior to public comment. We've had a subsequent and a report that will be going forward. So public comment is on pause. Yes.
Reporting out on...
No, the subsequent.
Oh.
Can we bring the subsequent report?
Receive an update on the fires currently burning in Trinity County, subsequent item 1.
Supervisor Byrne, you need to read the first part of that to move to actually bring this up to the item first, and then we need a second and a vote on it.
Thank you.
Before we can have the presentation.
Move to discuss and or take action to add a fire update and find that the need to take immediate action came to the attention of the board subsequent to the agenda being posted. The urgency is the fires are still burning in Trinity County and the board needs to be given a status update.
So moved. Second.
Supervisor Brown will
You're right, sorry.
statement.
You're right.
He was too quick. I was going to ask Supervisor Morris if she was seconding his motion.
Keith can take it.
Moved by Supervisor Brown, seconded by Supervisor Groves. Supervisor Groves, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Fenley?
You're on mute.
Yes.
Supervisor Jack? Thank you.
So Judy, did you want to introduce this?
Yes, thank you.
Madam Chair, you're going to read the actual...
Yes, so the action item to receive an update on the fires currently burning in Trinity County. So we're moving, as Supervisor Brown has discussed, to take action to add the fire update. So Judy actually is the one that brought this forward, and I'm grateful for it.
Great, thank you. So we should have Scott Russell, Superintendent of Shasta Tree Forest. I don't see him on there, but I know they were ready to go. So given that there are a lot of changes at the district level, of course we know that District Ranger Joe Smales retired a couple weeks ago. We have a new District Ranger in Hayfork, and fairly new one, not that new, but at Six Rivers. I thought it was important that the board have a representative from the Forest Service give us an update directly. Also, the ICP is not in our backyard, so that makes it a little difficult to have those conversations with the Forest Service during an event like this. So I do see Forest Service is now zooming in. Is that correct? Okay, so I will...
I believe it's Mark Roberts from the Alaskan team.
Yeah, and Scott should be there. There's Scott. Now we can...
It's hard to see who it is.
Morning, Scott.
Thank you for joining us.
So Scott, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and sorry that we can't be there in person, but we've all gotten better at this virtual stuff, so we'll see how this works, and maybe it's something we're able to do more often and join your meetings on a regular basis. But you're right, Judy. We haven't hit our mark on communication. Part of that Joe's retiring right in the middle of all this. And he was a great conduit for us, and all of you, and so. You've got Tara Jones has come in as the acting district ranger there in Weaverville. She's our timber contracting officer for Northern California, and so she started. This is her second week, I believe, and so we'll look for another opportunity to introduce her to you, and then as you likely know, we've got a couple other newer rangers in Trinity County with Kristen Lark over on the Six Rivers. And Chris Losi is the new ranger at Hayfork. So lots of changes going on here, but today's about giving you an update on the fires. Ted MacArthur apologizes for not being able to be here with me today. The Six Rivers and the Shasta Trinity have done a great job working together, on this incident, as well as the Mendocino. And so it's been all hands on deck. I won't take too much time, introduce the team and let them, talk about the fire. I'll just give a little bit of a preface that, we've got a series of lightning storms through the state where we saw a whole bunch of fires get started. And this fire here was really a combination of about 37 fires that started and then have grown together. And so it's been a heck of a ride. 2020 has been a heck of a ride, and icing on the cake, in terms of the challenges we're facing here. Really with all the incidents in the state, we've really been struggling with resource availability on all these fires. But we've got a great team in here. We've got a series of great teams, and so I'll pass it off to them and let them talk about the fire and the status of that, and then we can have some questions and discussion after that.
Great.
Hello, it's Michelle Weston. I'm a liaison with the Alaska team. I just, before we have our operations chief, Kyle Cowan, and our incident commander, Norm McDonald, come up and talk, we just wanted to just express our appreciation for the great level of coordination we've had with Ed Priestley at Trinity County Office of Emergency Services, with the Sheriff's Office, with the Health Department. They've been absolutely wonderful to work with, and we just want to express our gratitude to them. We travel around and see many different communities, and they have been just top notch, so easy to work with, and we just wanted to say that you have some great employees working for you in this county. And so with that, we'll switch to Kyle Cowan to give you an operational update.
Hi, good morning. Kyle Cowan, operations with the Alaska Incident Management Team. So many of you, maybe this is the first time you've seen this map, so I'll just give you some reference points as far as the map goes, and then I'll drill down to what we're doing as far as the fire. So Hay Fork is to the north of the fire. This yellow line right here is Highway 36. So that's how we're accessing the kind of the northernmost part of the fire. Some more communities. You got Post Mountain, Forest Glen, Wildwood, Platina. Over on this side here, this is where the Zog fire is, and then this is currently where our fire sits. So hopefully that's kind of a little bit of reference as far as what we're looking at. As it stands today, after we've transitioned with the Pacific Northwest team, this would be kind of their boundary along the South Fork Mountain, and then also the South Fork of the Trinity. So the Pacific Northwest team has responsibilities over on this side of this yellow line. We've got responsibilities on this side of it, the east side, and so that's kind of, I guess, the reference for the map. So what we do is we try to break the fire into the geographical areas that we can speak to. So we kind of go from a branch, which is sort of a larger geographic area, to a division, which is a much smaller geographic area. So we've got a branch section chief and then division supervisors to narrow everything down. So just going around the map real quick, over in Division Quebec and Tango, which would be kind of this whole eastern side of the fire. The black line represents containment, so we feel pretty good about this. This has been in a patrol mode for a while now, for several days, so we feel good about this line. This grayed out area, most of these grayed out areas represent an old fire scar. So this is the Buck fire, which was in 2017. This is the Noble fire, which was in 2008. So this Buck fire is resisted any kind of fire growth through it. So the fire is not really growing through it right now, just due to fuel conditions, probably that change in fuel type from 3 years ago. So the fire hasn't really continued to grow through that. Where we've seen the majority of the growth in the last couple days is this fire. This would be road 35 that was a holding one of our containment lines that we were trying to use to keep the fire. West of that We got spots across it here a couple days ago, so now this fire's been established into the Beacon drainage. So that's where this spot is at. Working our way up. So this, as far as the reference for the locals, Red Mountain would be kind of over in this drop point 124, 125 area. Round Mountain would be sort of over in this drop point 123 area. So just as far as more reference for you. So working our way up, we continue to, we have folks, we have a presence over at Post Mountain. We've got, we feel like we have the fire pretty well hung up on this north side, given today's fire conditions and how the fire's growing. So we were able to tie in this piece of line, which is south of Post Mountain. So that piece is looking pretty good today. Right now we've got Containment Line coming up on this piece of fire, which is north of 36. So this is held up on Road 14. So that would be kind of the eastern side of this spot that's across Highway 36. We've got heavy equipment, dozers and hand crews working their way to the west, tying in line over into the South Fork of the Trinity. So we're trying to go as direct as we can there. Hidden Valley is over in this general area, kind of right here. So in addition to that, we've got other containment lines that we're trying to push in the event that the fire goes past our initial line. We've got some other opportunities here. I'll end it there. That'll be my update for now, unless you have additional questions for me in the future.
All right, good morning. My name is Norm McDonald. I'm the incident commander with the Alaska team. So I'm glad to get an opportunity to speak with you here today. I know you've had a lot of fire in this country in the past. It's fire-prone country, so you're not unfamiliar with what goes on these. But just to go back a little bit, we arrived here on September 17th. We've been here just about 21 days. So your meeting today happens to coincide with our transition day with the next team coming behind us, which would be Great Basin 2, and Tony DeMasters is the incident commander. The good news with that is they were here previously on the south zone, so they're familiar with a lot of the people around here and work with Scott Russell and the other forest administrators. So it's not like a new team coming in that has to figure out what's going on and who's who. They'll be able to kind of get a good running start at this. So today what it looks like for us is we're doing a transition and shadow day. Their operations and our operations have worked together the last couple of days to make sure that's a smooth handoff. We're working today with both agency administrators from the Six Rivers and Shasta to make sure Tony and his team have a good handoff, kind of know what's in front of them, where the challenges are, where we're having successes, and what it'll look like moving forward. The one thing, I guess I just hit on a couple things as we showed up here. We transitioned with Cal 5, they were one of the local teams. We had the entire north end of the fire, so we were given operational control of that piece. And going back to that date, it was planning level 5 nationally, which was just a really severe lack of resources. And we showed up with about 350 resources here on this north part of the fire, which was well understaffed for what we needed. Since then, we've been able to work with the local, the GAC, which is the coordinating group, and nationally to get those resources moved in here as they were freed up from either other fires in California or nationally. So today we've got about 1,400 firefighters. We still have a lot of critical needs we're trying to fill, but that's just a problem across the board in 2020. There's been shortages all over the West Coast, and you guys watch the news, but there was fires active all the way from the Canadian border down to Arizona. So we were just making do with what we had. So that was one of the big challenges we faced. But really we have lately got a lot of good resources, those type 1 crews, hot shot crews in, a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of local help from the operators here that live here. They were a big part of the successes we did have. So we appreciated the efforts that they put in there. You probably are neighbors with a lot of them. I think the other thing, just to bring up that's kind of a major change is starting tomorrow and the 8th, there's going to be 250 Marines that are going to be assigned to this, what we're calling the northeast part of the fire now. So they're going to be staying over in the Wild Ranch area. And what that'll do is they will be able to take parts of the fire that less intense and do some good work in there with the mop up and holding, and we'll free up those type 1, those hot shot crews, which are limited supply for Tony and his group to use on those critical pieces of line where you need to have that experience and those crews that can cut and burn and hold and do those things that it's going to take to be successful. So Tony will work logistically to support those Marines, and then they've been working on other fires in California here already this year, so they've got their little bit of experience, their feet underneath them, and they'll put them in places where they can do some good work in there. And I think, the one thing we've done as we come into these fires, we brought 100 people with us to help manage this incident, and a lot of it has just been that public relations. I mean, a big part of the battle is just fighting this fire, but also just those relationships it takes with the communities. And we've got our liaison working hard with all the counties, and we've got 4 counties we're engaged with. We're working with 2 CAL FIRE units on both the east and west side, and then 3 forests that are part of this. So a lot of what we do is just making sure we're getting all the good direction we can from those folks, getting information and sharing information with those operators out there, and really just communicating with the public what we're doing. These fires like this, where we have structures lost, people are impacted, there's a lot of frustrations. So it's upon us to try to explain, what we're doing daily, give them updates when we're doing evacuations and why. So that's just a big part of what we are doing here, what we have done, and then what Tony will pick up as we transition out tomorrow morning at 0600. He'll pick up that same cadence and be ready to keep this operational pace up that's going to take to have success here on this fire. I don't know if you want to open up for questions. We usually do these in person. We're in the room. We can look people in the eye and see if they've got questions. But we'll be here, both our operations folks, myself. Scott's here, so if there's anything we can help answer or address for you and your group, we'd like to make that happen.
So Supervisor Morris has a question, but I believe Supervisor Finley, I'd like to make sure he has opportunity.
Sure. John can go first.
John, Supervisor Finley, would you like to say?
Yes, I would, and I want to thank the USFS Fire, especially for the unprecedented opportunity with your Facebook daily and bi-daily contacts. It's absolutely phenomenal, the information you have been giving out, especially over the past couple of weeks. Before, I understand it was an absolute cluster, and I get it, and I understand why it was a cluster. But the information you are giving out, the questions, and the time you're taking to answer the questions using Facebook is phenomenal. Trust me, I haven't heard from anybody from the U.S. Forest Service, but I know you're out there working, and I don't want to get in your way. I also want to send an incredible hello to and thank you to Kirk McCray, the western side from Southern Humboldt. He has done an incredible job interfacing with USFS, and that's about it. Thank you.
Make sure they got the correct name on the screen, and we're I'll just reiterate that. A big part of I think our success has been that communication with Kirk on our west side, and then Sean Kavanaugh on the west, or CAL FIRE, both been fully engaged. It's been a great communication, great relationships, both with us, and that kind of goes to, I think, with the Forest Service part of that. They helped develop that before we got here, so it's really easy to step in with those folks and get some plans together.
And I want to thank you again. Kirk McCray just sent me a text saying more federal resources have been assigned, as you just said, to the northern part, and it's being split into 2 zones, as you said, and he's real excited. Rain is expected Friday night and Saturday, sir.
Excited when we could split this north part in half and just get that span of control to a manageable level. It was a big step. So a lot of work went on behind the scenes to make that happen, but we're up and running with it now. I think we'll see a lot more success here in the next few days. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you again.
Supervisor Morris?
Did you want?
No, go ahead.
Kind of you're close to your district.
It's okay.
Okay. First of all and foremost, I will want to echo what Supervisor Finley said. Thank you for all your team's work on the ground and the Facebook Live for the public to really get some great information, and so that's been very helpful. People love Info Sam.
Yes.
So, So I guess, we're all hoping for rain, and that will ease some burden on all of you and all the residents in southern Trinity. So with that fast approaching, I hope, some rain, I don't know if Scott told you, people are a little weary from the 08 fires, of a lot of backfiring. I anticipate with some rain that will help reduce some of that, although I know weather conditions factor in, certain resources lack or more. So I just wanted to know kind of how that will move forward, if any.
Well, yeah, we can understand that. We came in here, and the community and the forests, you can tell people are, they're at their wits' end and exhausted, and it's been a long season already. For the 3 weeks we've been here, it's been just about as fast as a pace and tempo of an incident that I've been part of. So I know the people who live here are sick of it, and I get it. And unfortunately, it's not just California. We came from Colorado before this, and it was kind of the same story. They had record season. We just came off the largest fire in the forest history, the largest fire in Colorado history, and then right into California with the largest fire in California's history. So the western United States, it's been a long summer for everybody, and right here in this neck of the woods, you get a lot of fire, and I've had a lot over the last 10 years. So I just hope while we're here, that's what we try to do is take some of that burden off the local government, local Forest Service offices, let them go about their day jobs and get a little bit of rest while we take on this challenge here for the 3 weeks we're here. And I know Tony and his team will do the same. But we wish you all the best. Like I said, this is our last day. We ordered some rain up. It's supposed to be here Friday or Saturday. Hope that'll help you all out.
Well, I hope all of you out too, for sure. Give you guys a break.
Supervisor Brown? Supervisor Groves?
No, ma'am.
So everything that I want to say has been said, and I know how time is very valuable. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you've done to serve our community. We hope you get plenty of good rest and that your sleep is multiplied. I know you've been working around the clock, so thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Good luck. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
So we're going to bring it back to the board, and at this time, we have invited Marcy to give us an update. Apologize that there wasn't even time to get it on a subsequent, so we're going to put this as a department head rather than a COVID, because it's not on it. And we appreciate your time here this morning, and we know that there's been a lot of things happening, so thank you, and you've been very patient.
Thank you so much. I want to tell our firefighters how much we appreciate them. Marcy Jo Cudzel, Public Health Branch Director. If we could pull up the dashboard, Dan, just briefly, so everyone has a visual. Thank you, Dan. So on Saturday morning, the Public Health Branch was notified of 9 lab confirmed positive cases, with the 10th coming in Sunday. Our public health surveillance and control team worked over the weekend to conduct contact investigation, case investigation and contact tracing. To date, you can see that 10 persons have been isolated with 52 active quarantines. As you know, the Trinity County Public Health Branch and Trinity Hospital put out a joint press release last night. The hospital collects specimens weekly on all persons, either staff or contractors, who must gain entry to the skilled nursing facility within the hospital. It is through this weekly testing that resulted in public health lab in Shasta County notifying the public health branch here in Trinity of the 7 positive cases. There were 3 additional cases conducted at private labs that were part of the general population, so that makes up the total 10. The Public Health Branch is coordinating with California Department of Public Health State Lab and the Shasta Public Health Lab to conduct confirmatory testing on those specimens, and in fact, just to ensure they're in fact positive, as well as to identify if the virus is genetically linked to each other, so if the virus is the same strain in those cases. This will provide us with a lot of essential information. We do understand the public has many concerns. We want to assure our public that when we identify cases, we do reach out and we do collect information to identify those who are exposed or potentially exposed. There are many variables involved with this, including persons' memories of who they've been in contact with, and if there was indeed an exposure based on all the different variables that can apply. What we have done is we have, again, we have a dedicated line at the Public Health Department. It is 623-8235. As you recall, that's the number we used for persons that had questions about testing. That is the dedicated COVID line now. At this time, we will, again, check it twice a day, more frequently if necessary. And we have a person who will be returning phone calls, and then that person will be directing those calls to whoever, to those who have the experience and the information that's needed. It's helpful for us if you would clearly identify yourself and your phone number and give us some detail on your concerns and what you would like to know and what we can help you with. It is a secure line, so none of this information is available to others outside of the public health team. There's also a very good link on CDC about contact tracing. If you go to the CDC website and then click on when to quarantine, there's some really good information there. I wanted to share with you what we're doing for testing this week. We do have significant numbers of persons making appointments through our Verily site, which we're happy to see. We did have some challenges last week with the fires and the week before with the air quality. We had to close a few of our drive-through sites due to the air quality. We had a contingency plan in place this week to do indoor testing if necessary because the vital need for testing as we saw more cases and more people that will need to be tested. We were notified last week that Verily, Team Rubicon would not be available to assist Verily in the logistics of those drive-through testing sites, but the health department, through our partnership with our EOC and our social services DOC, are able to stand up those testing sites. And the air quality is better this week, so we don't believe that we would have to move that indoors. So we plan on having those testing sites at TPAC as normal, and then at Lewiston at the Moose Lodge is where that drive-through site will be. We really want to encourage our population, our residents, to get tested. 2 reasons for this. Number one is obviously it identifies positive cases and helps us do contact tracing to prevent the spread, but also because of the way they calculate tier metrics, we want to ensure a sufficient number of negative tests that offset the positives to keep us, that gives us I don't want to say just to keep our tier open, but it gives us a really good idea of really exactly what's going on in the county. If you're only testing people that are potentially exposed, or you might have a higher case positivity rate that doesn't maybe reflect what's truly going on in the county, or if you have sufficient number of tests and you have a sufficient number of positives, then that tells us to what degree there's community spread. So this is all really important, and when we look at keeping our community safe safely open. With that said, I wanted to move on to tier discussion. I think there might be a lot of concerns about these 10 tests and what that might mean for our tier status. I was on a call last night with our County Health Executives Association, and where they landed on Sunday with regard to the tier metric for small counties. I'll explain that in a minute, but with regard to the status of those 10 tests, right now, the data week that we're in for the tier status, and this can be found on COVID-19 website where you click on it and you can see the county what's open. The data week is for 9/20 to 9/26. So for this data week, if you go to the metric, you'll see that we're in the lowest restricted tier based on the data for that week, all right? Now, next week is the concern because that's going to cover the time frame for the data, because remember there's a 7-day lag. That's going to cover the data that captures these 10 positive tests. My guess is that for that week, it's going to move us into orange. However, and orange is what we were in before, the change that CDPH has made for small counties that will help benefit us, I think, in some way, is that, and I'm going to read from my notes because this is fairly new, and I would encourage you to listen to if you have a chance, the press conference at noon. Secretary Galley, who's also a doctor, is going to be talking about this in his update. So for small counties that have test positivity that meets the threshold of that county's currently assigned tier, but is flagged for potential moving to a more restrictive tier based on its weekly case rate assessment. So that includes what's going on with us for the next reporting week. The following criteria based shall be applied in lieu of the blueprint case rate thresholds. If the county exceeds the following absolute weekly case number, so they've identified an absolute number rather than a percent. They're still doing the case percent, but if you're going to move into a more restrictive tier, that absolute number is what dictates that movement. And it has to be in a 2-week period. So it's not like you're in this week, now you got to do this. It's still a 2-week period to determine if that's a continuance of a problem. So if we use us as an example, we're in the yellow tier now. The positivity rate that we have for the week of the 27th through the 3rd of October would move us into the orange tier. The absolute value, the absolute number of cases for those with populations under 35,000 is 7. So the fact that we had 10 cases, we would move into the orange, but again, it has to be for a 2-week period. If we don't have any more positive cases, I'm not so concerned about that. So that, in a nutshell, is the tier overview. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a quick question, just for clarification. The press conference at noon, is it open to the public? And where would someone find the location if they wanted to watch or listen?
Yes, that's on the governor's Twitter account and Facebook page. It's also located on YouTube. I don't have the link in my mind what it is, but if you go to the governor's Facebook page or the Twitter account, you'll find that information.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I do have some questions. Maybe the light person.
I look better in the dark.
Thank you, Marcy. Of course, that was a big concern of the tiering and which category we move into. It's CSAC, small counties have been working on some of this flexibility for the last couple of weeks, so glad to see it's gone up the flagpole, if you will. So at the moment, we're in yellow, which is the lowest restricted, if I heard you correctly, right?
Correct.
And that would last us through the end of this week?
Right, but remember, you cannot move, and it has to be a 3-week period that you're in a tier before you can move to that tier.
Okay, so are we still in orange then? I've confused myself.
So we're not, the data for the week that's 7 days in arrears shows that we have met the yellow tier criteria.
And then, so with this increase of cases or additional, let's hope not, could move us in the next 7 days or so back to orange perhaps.
Correct.
And so is there, well, like you said, we just need to continue testing to balance those numbers out in their whole calculus of viewing us.
Correct.
Okay. And do you have some testing dates yet?
Yes, Thursday
Uh-huh.
is the TPAC, so it's the normal testing.
Oh, okay.
Weaverville, TPAC, and then on Friday it's going to be Lewiston at the Moose Lodge. They've changed that from the school. And that information's on our website.
Okay. And so in terms of, I imagine your team is working closely with the hospital to maintain, reduce any further infection.
That is correct. We are coordinating with the hospital, the state, the California Department of Public Health, certification licensing, all those entities that oversee hospitals have been involved.
Okay.
We're working together as a team, the hospital, the health department, the state.
And so far we don't know of any other cluster that's been bubbling out there that we're hearing.
No. So to be clear, it's a cluster right now, the 7, because it's in close proximity to space and time. It's one entity.
Right.
Once we know more about the genetic makeup of the virus, if indeed these are positive, I have no reason to doubt the Shasta Public Health Lab. The machine they use isn't false positives, according to the state, are rare, but there's always potential for human error. So we want to make sure that those tests are in fact positive samples. So once we have more, we're also working with the private labs that tested the 3 general public individuals, so that those tests will also be, genome testing will also be done on those to see if it is in fact one strain that's causing this in Trinity County. Then we know absolutely that those cases are linked.
Okay.
That's the last piece of the puzzle.
Gotcha. I think that's it. I just want to thank you, like we thank the firefighters for all your work. I know this too has just been an ongoing event for months, so thank you and your team.
Yeah, thank all of you too.
I just have one question that has been approached about rumors about COVID cases at schools. Is there any credibility to that, or can you speak to that at all?
So we put out a press release yesterday also to clarify that there have, through our contact, again, through who we've identified in our contact tracing and case investigation, we have not identified school staff that have been exposed to a positive case.
Good, thank you.
Supervisor Groves?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Marcy, the doctors sent out a health issuance for the hospital on the 3rd. And my understanding as of yesterday, that still wasn't posted on our website. Was that I guess on a big picture, do the doctor orders, are they all public information, or should I be asking somebody different?
No, absolutely they're public.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think we notified, part of it is timing. We notified the hospital, this all happened we're on Tuesday, this happened on Saturday and Sunday. And we wanted to partner with the hospital in getting all the pieces in place and understanding what's going on. And then the health officer wanted to write the order. And so I don't see any reason why it can't be posted to the website. I think it was just timing.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other? Supervisor Finley, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
So, thank you. And in regards to the press release that came out, there were specific dates of potential exposure. If you would like to share that, my other question would be the secondary location, because the Hayfork Fairgrounds is consumed with firefighters, and that's where the testing had been done. And so has there been a discussion about a secondary, and could you explain when that might be taking place and where it is, if you don't mind? Thank you, Ms. Mercer.
Yes. So regarding your first question about the dates, potential exposures in the press release, we have just wanted the public to be aware if they were at Trinity Hospital between September 24th and October 3rd and believe that they are experiencing symptoms consistent with COVID, or are concerned that they have been exposed, please contact your healthcare provider to determine if you should be tested. I did, in consultation with the hospital, Aaron Rogers assured us that no staff from the clinics or emergency department tested positive, and you can also see that in the press release. That's where we're at right now. That's what we know right now. As more becomes known, again, this is an ongoing process working with the hospital and the state. And then regarding the second question, Chairwoman Chadwick, yes, so the site for Hayfork moving forward is now the last conversation I had with my team is it's in part, I think, dependent on the air quality, because if we need to move it inside, the plan is at the community center in Hayfork. The drive-through, we've discussed the Rockville Church, or is there
Solid Rock?
Solid Rock. Yes, thank you, Solid Rock Church. We've discussed that. So we have a plan moving forward contingent on the air quality. So we will have a Hayfork site.
Thank you.
I am also reaching up to the state. I'm in continuous communication with them and really advocating the need for expanded testing in Trinity County. So that is continuing.
I see no more questions, so I'll echo what earlier the supervisors had said. Thank you team. If anybody was paying attention, they heard you say last night, I know you're working over the weekend, COVID doesn't recognize a 40-hour work week, and so we appreciate you, we appreciate your team, and thank you for making yourself available on such short notice.
Thank you so much. And I want our residents to know that we appreciate their partnership. I always learn things reading their comments, and I want them to stay well. And we'll continue our work. Thank you so much.
So we're going to go into public comment now. We thank you on the participants on Zoom for being patient. We felt that both those items needed to go out before public comment. Public comment this time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. So at this time, there are no individuals within our lobby or our foyer, and I did not see anybody in the parking lot. So we are going to go to the public on Zoom, and I will turn it over to Emma to let me know. So we have one person, and do we have a name? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, Larry Winter. Welcome, Larry Winter. You're our public comment today.
Hello, Madam Chairwoman and fellow board members. Larry Winter in Higham. And I would like to bring up a portion of your Trinity County Emergency Operations Plan. I have I hope, constructive criticism. One thing that I've noticed this fire season that the county has apparently dropped the local area advisor program that we had started in 2013, and that I would like to see that up back, because I think it's very critical as far as community involvement and trust, and helps to dampen down all of the rumors that go around by having someone that's from the community that has direct access to the incident command team that can talk to the operational people, the dozer bosses about really local concerns. And in my involvement in it in 2015, it really made a difference in the morale with the Forest Service team, and it really calmed people down in the community, because as you've seen, there's been a lot of rumors going around, a lot of bad juju being discussed. You know, it reminds me of 2008. And so the fact that it got dropped, I think, is just because we've had a lot of people retire and leave, and so we need to reinstitute that. And looking at your emergency operations plans under the hazard identifications, I noticed under your 2.2.2 capability assessments that the county has not defined its core capabilities in accordance with the National Preparedness Goal, or undertaken a formal capabilities assessment to date. I'm reading right from your document. Should an assessment be conducted in the future, it will help emergency responders evaluate, coordinate, and enhance the cohesiveness of their emergency plans. A community capability assessment is a low-impact, systematic approach to evaluate the county's emergency plan and capability to respond to hazards. And I think a local area advisor program can be brought in through your disaster service volunteer program that has it all laid out for how to go about that. And so I highly recommend that we get that program up and running again, because it was very useful. I really appreciate the new technology and how the Forest Service is utilizing it during this COVID period. But it's really good for putting out information. But to have this one-on-one conversation capability with the local person who understands the community and understands the geography and the fire history is priceless. And so I would like to also make a mention of the hazardous smoke conditions here in Higham that we've had for a week. We've had one afternoon of clear skies, and it's
Larry, I hate to interrupt you, but your 3 minutes is over. But I want to say with that, I appreciate this input. If you could please draft it in an email right now with the situation with the fires. I don't think it'd be appropriate, but I will request that Dr. Coons and Ed Presley with OES, and maybe even have Pat Frost, because he deals with so many volunteers with the Fire Safe Council. And I want to applaud you personally. You are the only civilian I know that is involved with the community fires, and you have been continuous on trying to get local input with protecting. And so I hate cutting you off. I know what you have to say is valuable, but you could please follow up in an email to myself, Dr. Coons, and I will try to, I'll make a note to get this information, the ball rolling, but unfortunately it won't be during this crisis. Thank you.
That's fine. I understand that. It's for the future next season.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals waiting for public comment? Okay, so bringing it back, Judy?
I just want to emphasize that Larry's point, if done right, it's very helpful. It's spun out of the '08 craziness that happened. And a lot of folks have retired. They were retirees to begin with, but then they retired out of our pool of local advisors. So with the right people, it can be very helpful and helpful for those visiting firefighters on the ground. So
It's time to recruit the younger people. So with that, we're going to move on into consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. A member of the board, the staff, or public may request an item be pulled and considered separately. Does the board?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 2.3 and item 2.21.
2.21?
Yes,
Wait a second. Judy?
no.
Supervisor Finley? Okay, I'm not seeing anything being pulled. Okay, so is there anyone from the staff that would like to pull an item out of order? Anyone from the public? I'll look to you, Emma.
I would like an item 2.6. Larry Winter speaking.
Okay, Larry, thank you for identifying yourself. Anyone else? Okay. Bringing it back to the board, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Brown and a second by Supervisor Groves. Supervisor Groves, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris? Yes. Supervisor Finley?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye. So the first one was Supervisor Groves pulled 2.3, appoint Liam Gogan to the Trinity County Fish and Game Commission to serve an indefinite term, no fiscal impact. Supervisor Groves?
Yeah, as I sit on that commission as the supervisor appointee, I just wanted to clear to the rest of the board, Liam is serving as a private citizen at this point and not as a future supervisor. When he does take his chair, then we'll discuss what one of us will have to step on.
Okay.
So just so
Fair
that's
enough. Thank you for that clarification.
clear to the board.
So is there any additional comments from the board on this matter?
I have a question for Margaret on this. Given that, just popped into my head, given that he's a soup-elect, is there any conflict between having our one supervisor seated and a soup-elect, even though he's serving in a private capacity?
Go ahead, Mark.
He does qualify. I apologize, Chair, may I respond?
Yes, please.
I apologize, thanks. Apply to him.
Margaret, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're cutting in and out. Could you start from the beginning?
Absolutely. The answer to that is that he is serving as a private citizen, but the Brown Act does still apply to him. But because there's only one member of the Board of Supervisors on that committee, the Brown Act would not be violated by him.
Okay. Thank you. That was,
Any
I
other
got
questions
it.
from the board? Okay, opening it up for the public to comment. Bringing it back to the board. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Brown and a second by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Fenley? Supervisor Fenley, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick? Thank
And I
you.
appreciate that clarification, Keith. Item 2.6, Mr. Larry Winter pulled this, adopt a resolution which confirms the continuance of a local health emergency in Trinity County due to the unhealthy air quality caused by wildfires. No fiscal impact. There you go, Larry. You have 3 minutes.
Hello again, Larry Winter from High Palm. I support this recommendation, but I'm just curious, like I mentioned earlier, High Palm's been in hazardous air, though we don't have a sensor here to document it, and for a week, and in the past, the county has kind of helped out with sending air masks and, or, filters and other things, and, or providing a clean air center. And so maybe this would be under the discussion that I mentioned earlier about a capability assessment. But I'm just curious, what does this do for the county's residents by approving this? Because I'm sitting right here right now in the middle of a horrendous smoke coming down the canyon from the North Fire. And I'm just curious, I think this is something that we need to do better in the future, and that's why I wanted to talk about it on this item, because smoke is terrible right now, and it doesn't seem like the county has reached out at all. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Winter. So there's 2 questions in there that I'm hearing. The first part of it, and we normally don't engage in public comment. I want to make that clear, but because of the emergency situation, and both of your comments had to do with the fire situation, I think we're compelled to do it. So I will ask Dr. Coons to respond to why and how we are doing this resolution. The second part, we will follow up with you, but I do believe Supervisor Morris also wanted to comment.
Well, I think it's going to continue, but Dr. Coons might know better. We certainly have 2 clean air centers open, Weaverville and Hayfork. And in the past, we've had a few more open in the specific areas where need would be, which probably is most of the county. But I know that's a staffing issue, so maybe that one needs to go to High Palm as well, but I just want him to know that at least there's possibly one in Hayfork, for what it's worth.
Yes, there is one Hayfork and here, and I don't know the boundaries. I haven't pulled, just off the top of my head, I don't know, is High Palm an evacuation zone? If that's, are they, that?
Not for clean air.
They're under warning.
They're under a warning,
Okay.
but they haven't been evacuated, is my understanding. I haven't checked this morning.
I'm just saying, yeah, if they're under evacuation, we wouldn't put a clean air center there. So that's why I need to call and make sure that it qualifies. So yes, we have clean air centers in a couple areas, and I'll reach out to public health to see if we can expand the clean air centers. And as you said, we have been sending filters and masks to that area. So some of it is, we're doing the best we can do and the most we can do.
My understanding is that he said that there weren't being masks sent at this time.
Oh, okay, I heard it the other way around, so
Okay,
I will check on that.
The first part of the conversation, which is very important, why are we having a resolution to declare an emergency? And if you could explain that, I think the whole public would benefit.
We declare emergency because it qualifies us, the first step qualifying us for local funding, state funding, and then eventually federal funding. So we have to maintain these local emergencies, and you see this is a continuance of a local emergency, not establishing a local emergency. So it provides a mechanism for the county to receive funding for emergency services in situations such as this.
Thank you. So is there any more comments from the board? I'm going to open it up for the public. Bringing it back to the board, I'd entertain.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Morris and a second by Supervisor Chadwick. Supervisor Chadwick, how do you vote? Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Grove?
Aye.
Supervisor Fenley?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item item 2.21, by Supervisor Groves, approve the Trinity County Annual Investment Policy. Fiscal impact varies depending on the current market conditions. Supervisor Groves?
I just had one question for Terry. Are there changes in this from last year's?
There are not any changes from last year, Keith.
Thank you, Terry.
No problem.
Any other questions? Opening it to the public? Seeing no one, thank you for being on the line, Terry, to answer that question. Bringing it back to the board.
I'll move to approve 2.21 as submitted.
Motion by Supervisor Grove, second by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Grove?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Fenley? Supervisor Fenley? Thank you. Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye. We like your co-chair, by the way, Supervisor Finley. We're all jealous.
We're all jealous.
So we're moving on to reports and announcements. Item 3.1 for those following it with an agenda. 1, report from department heads. Do we have any department heads on the line or on Zoom that would like to report out?
No.
Hi, this is Sharon.
Shelley? I think we have we're frozen. Hold on one second. Are we good? Okay, so I will look to Emma, but I heard Shelley Nelson's voice. Oh, Shanna, excuse me.
Shanna.
Okay,
Yep.
Shanna, go ahead. We'll start with you. Good morning.
Good morning, this is Shanna. To the public that all voting materials have been mailed to voters. So if they have not received their ballots or their sample ballot booklets, they should, by like the 13th, they should probably call the office. I'm saying the 13th, I'm giving it a week with mail, but I'm saying the 13th because October 12th, Monday, is Columbus Day and everything is closed. I also want to let the board and the public know I've been doing public announcements in the paper, I've been doing advertisements, but I also want to inform the board that there will be one voting assistance center here in Trinity County, and it will be here at the Trinity County Courthouse. This center will be open starting Saturday, October 31st through Monday, November 2nd, and the hours of operation for that are 9 to 5. On Tuesday, Election Day, November 3rd, the hours will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. We are asking that people recognize the health orders put in place and please wear a mask. What can be obtained at this, it's not a polling center. I want to make sure that everybody knows it's not a polling center. You're not going to be able to come in and cast your ballot as you have in the past. What you can do at this location is you can request a replacement ballot. So if you lost your ballot, you never got it, you spoiled your ballot, you can get a replacement. You can drop off your voted ballot. We have drop boxes available for that. You can register to vote, and if you need an accessible tablet to vote a ballot on, you can do that. But what you'll do is you'll load that ballot on an accessible tablet, and then you'll have an envelope, just like you would have gotten at home, to put it into, and then it'll be processed with all other vote by mail ballots. I have secure drop box located all around the county. There's one in Hayfork. It was originally posted that it's going to be at the fairgrounds, but since the fire camp has taken over that area, I have put it at the Trinity Transit stop that's at the Hayfork Library. So it's misnoted in your sample ballot booklets that went out because those were printed prior to the change. But I did put notices in the paper. It is on our website, but I want to make sure that everybody knows that Hayfork
ballot drop box is at the Trinity transit stop at the library. The other locations of ballot boxes is in Junction City at the fire station, in Douglas City at the fire station, and in Lewiston at the fire station. And then I have the one here at the courthouse, and the one here at the courthouse is a drive-up one, right there at the end of the parking lot as you're driving through the courthouse parking lot. A lot of the other ones are drive-up too. You can drive up and drop your ballot up so you don't have to get out of your car. But I do want to have everybody notice, make sure that they're taking safety into place when they're driving up and dropping their ballots off. And then another thing, so that's all I have for election stuff, but I do want to address the fire for the August complex. My office, being the assessor's office, now putting a different hat on, we'll be handling that August complex just like we did the Helena fire. Once we get the damage assessment report from ODS or the incident command, we'll be looking at every one of those properties and making adjustments accordingly. We have gotten a few calls from some property owners already wanting to file their calamity reports, but I do want to assure all of those residents out there that we will be looking at those even if they don't call the office, based on the reports we get from OES. I also, putting the elections hat back on for the fire stuff, I've been informed by my team that the post office is changing the addresses. They're going to alternate post offices for the residents in the evacuated areas. But I also want to state that if any voter in the evacuated areas needs their ballot sent to a temporary address, please call the office because we'll do anything and everything we possibly can to make sure that they get their ballot and they have their right to vote. So that's all I have, and if you have any other questions for me, I'm here and available.
Shannon, I have one real quick, maybe a suggestion, because the fire camp, as you said, at the fairgrounds, and a lot of people are, you can't get into the fairground parking lot. They even have their own security. Is there a way we could put a sandwich sign maybe out on the approach at the fairgrounds, just saying that the ballot collection area has been moved to the library, so people who aren't aware where it's been moved? Is there something physical we can put out so they can't even drive through the parking lot, so I just don't want to see a bunch of people trying to get in and they can't get in and then they don't know where it is, and I don't want to expose the fire. It's just throwing it out there. If we had maybe some sandwich sign saying it's been moved to the library, then they could just drive up the road. So just throwing that out there. Was there anybody else that had questions?
I just wanted to thank you, Sharon, for the update. It was very helpful, and you read my mind, so thank you. It was important to announce all of that.
Okay, and Bobby, to answer that, yes, I'll do everything I possibly can to make redirect people to the proper boxes.
And they have a marquee there, so maybe it's as simple as calling the fair manager and asking her to put it on the marquee. So Supervisor Groves has a question.
A couple things, Shanna. Can they still drop the ballot in your slot box inside the courthouse?
Yes, they can, but I'm actually going to put a drop box that looks just like the one that's in the parking lot, right next to that red box that we already have out there for county mail. I'm going to put another bigger one right there so they don't even have to come inside the door. Because once they come in the door, they have to have a mask on, so I'm just trying to alleviate that for any of the individuals who don't like to wear a mask. So there will be a ballot drop box right there at the entrance also.
Okay, but they can come in and wear their mask and drop like we used to have. Okay.
Yep, sure they can.
Okay, so this election being a mail-in, what are the rules on the ballots being received? Do they have to be received by the 3rd, close of the 3rd, or they have to be postmarked? Is it a week after the 3rd? There's all sorts of things all over the nation. Could you clarify what we're doing in California?
Yeah, so legislation passed a few years ago that if a ballot is postmarked on or before Election Day and received within 3 days, we would still count that ballot so long as the signature matched. With this new legislation, with the new laws happening for this election only, it's, as long as it's postmarked on or before election day and received within 17 days. So as long as we receive it by November 20th, it will still be counted so long as the signature can be verified. But it has to be postmarked on or before November 3rd.
So when do you plan to actually call the election then? How many days after the 17 days?
Well, I have to call the election by December 3rd, at 30 days.
Okay.
I will certify by no later than December 3rd.
I had another question, but that threw me off. So, thank you, Shanna.
Sorry about that.
I believe Supervisor Finley, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I've got a pretty dumb question. Shanna, can anyone help me if I can't reach the drop box? If they're standing there, can they move that envelope from my hand and put it in the drop box for me?
Well, the drop box, John, is at ADA compliant height. So somebody in a wheelchair should not have a problem dropping it in. Possibly, but I don't see if there should be any
I
issue
shouldn't
with
expect
somebody being able to
anybody
reach
there
the slot.
slotting ballots and putting them in the drop box for me.
John, you cut out at the beginning of that conversation. Could you restate your question?
Sure, I shouldn't expect any ballot directly in the drop box.
No.
You're both cutting out. You're both cutting out significantly. Shanna, can you repeat the question you thought you heard and then repeat your answer, because we couldn't hear it here and I don't know who else could.
Okay.
Oh, we're offline.
Somebody to be standing at the drop box to help them put their ballot in the drop box. No, I do not have staff standing at drop boxes helping voters put their ballot in the drop box.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Supervisor Gross, did you remember your question?
No, I'm fine for now, thank you.
John, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. We'll just keep it. There'll be ballot observers there.
Thank you. And so I think, was there anything else you wanted to add? Oh, wait.
I did remember.
You remembered. The light bulb went on. It's the smoke. It's the smoke.
So Shanna, you didn't put a box in Trinity Center. Is that because we are normally mail-in in Trinity Center?
The requirements for me for boxes was to have 2 ballot boxes. That was my requirement. And what I tried to do is to put ballot boxes where people typically would be able to go to a poll. So that's why their Trinity Center has been all mail ballot for many years now, before my time in the office. So there was no box there.
Okay, thank you.
And if anybody has any questions, please call the office or email the office. We have people here to answer questions, and I think that to get real answers, they should get their questions answered from this office.
Not my taste bud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Is there anybody waiting? Connie? Connie? Morning and welcome.
Morning, Supervisor. Good morning, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to do a quick check-in with the board this morning and update you on behavioral health. Behavioral health is maintaining services Monday through Friday during our regular hours, and as we've been doing since the spring, those services are primarily being delivered via an approved telehealth platform, a Zoom platform, or over the telephone. But services are still happening down there. And we have just concluded our 6th audit in behavioral health since April. So it's been a very busy 6 months for us. and behavioral health. These are routine state and federal audits, nothing out of the ordinary. They happen, some of them every year and some of them every 3 years. We just happen to look out and have 6 of them roll around for the 3rd year at the same time as the pandemic. So we're very glad that we've concluded number 6. And last but not least, I wanted to let the board know that behavioral health worked a couple months back with the Trinity County Office of Education to write a mental health student services grant. This grant will be used for the all of the schools in Trinity County to expand their counseling capacity, staff counselor capacity across the schools. We wrote this grant with the Office of Education and in partnership with Murdoch County. And I'm really pleased to let you know that we were awarded this grant, and it is a $2.5 million grant over the next 4 years for our schools.
Great. Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our staff and the school staff worked really diligently on it, and it's a great partnership. We're super excited for the schools to be able to expand their counseling capabilities.
That's great.
Other than that, behavioral health is looking to expand our telehealth capacity as we go into the flu season in the winter. We're hoping to modify our infrastructure a little bit and improve our equipment to the extent possible to provide even more contactless services as we go through this winter. So we continue to keep our eye on that and see what we can do to improve contactless services in the department. So with that was my update. I just wanted to let you all know what we're doing on behavioral health.
Great. Thank you for joining us via Zoom. Be safe. Thank you. Is there any questions from anybody? Not seeing any. John? Supervisor Finley?
No, thank you, Connie.
Thank you. Congratulations once again to the team from all of us.
Thank you.
Director of Department of Transportation, Rick Tippett, are you wanting to address the board?
Good morning. I just want to let the board assist tomorrow to go over damages in the fire area. We are working very hard to get both federal, state and federal aid, and on federal aid we are trying to get both public assistance and individual assistance, which is direct to the individuals for this fire. We have, as of last night, we counted 127 homes that were destroyed. I just saw on the news that there was a posting of all the data for the fire on KRCBR, so there is an update on the media that was real good. And we have significant losses in September and agricultural livestock from the fire, so we'll be including that information in with what's going on. And I'm not intending on reporting for it, I'm just a lot of the stuff we got going on around us, and so we'll be working tomorrow with FEMA. And also Federal Highways has contacted me, and they're going to be helping me out with some sections of road to make quick repairs for firefighting efforts. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Board of Supervisors for Director Tippett? No. Thank you, Rick. Be safe. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Terry Mcguire. I just wanted to call and give you an update as well.
Thank you, Terry.
We had some significant challenges this year in regards to, we had 3 major conversions. So I just wanted to make the board aware that our unsecured and secured tax bills will all be going out roughly in the same time frame. And we also are in the process of, for our property taxes, only will be on a new vendor for our credit cards. So for those that are paying their property taxes online with the credit card, that's gonna look a little bit different because we have a new vendor for that. And so I anticipate that'll probably be live within a few weeks before you can pay your property taxes online again. So I just wanted to make you aware, even with the challenges, we're finally getting those things mailed out and making those transitions.
Thank you, Terry.
That's all I have, just wanted to update you.
Is there any
on that.
questions from the board? Thank you. John, do you have any questions for Terry? No?
No, thank you.
I saw your head shake, so that's good. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Okay, report from County Administrative Officer, Dr. Coons.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I was asked last time to give the board a update on CARES Act funding. So I put together just a real quick synopsis of what we received and what we have spent and what we anticipate spending, and then look to the board for some of the funding that may be in excess of what we need and get some direction. So currently we've been allocated $1,381,343 from the CARES Act for expenses related to the COVID crisis here in Trinity County. As of right now, we have spent and anticipating around exactly $794,358. Of that, we received $690,000. We have expenses of $275,868 with planned expenses of another $518,490. So kind of going through what we have spent and what we anticipate spending. Track tracing has cost us a little over $32,000. Public health and some safety employees were a little over $14,000. Personal protection equipment, a little over $7,000. Public health expenses, $90,000. Workers' comp, $43,000. And what we are proposing is also, as you know, we're looking at making this, the newspaper got it wrong. We have not spent $60,000 on our Zoom equipment. That was an estimate of what it might cost us. To make this a Zoom room, what we're looking at making this into a actual media room. So the interruptions we're getting right now, because we kind of have a hybrid system where we're live and on the system and they're on Zoom, so we're using equipment to try and match. What we'd like to do is make this into a media room where we are actually a Zoom address, so we don't have these interruptions. And then it'll also help with presentations in the board because it'll add monitors to the board members, it'll add a big monitor to the public, and keep us, and then the cameras, so we're able to function in a more professional manner. That's going to be somewhere between $70,000 to $90,000, and again paid for through the Zoom. We also put in a request to IT to look into what it's going to cost, because we're going to anticipate at least another year of telecommuting. So what upgrades we need in our servers so employees can continue to telecommute without interruption in services to the county. So those are some of the anticipated and actual costs. What we're going to ask the board also, we're making a recommendation somewhere between $1,500 to $2,000 in a stipend to small businesses to assist with the purchase and continued purchasing of safety equipment. Many businesses have had to supply masks, they've had to supply the barriers, that type of stuff, because of the health order with no assistance from the county. So what we're looking at doing is proposing between $1,500 to $2,000 per local business that have participated in the COVID, we're looking for prevention, and have gone online and filled out the I'm COVID compliant. So that would run somewhere between $350,000 and $500,000, depending on if we did $1,500 to $2,000. You have a question?
The math didn't. I thought you said $300,000 for sending out to our businesses, or did I hear you wrong?
At $1,500 per business, it would run about $350,000 total.
Okay, I did hear you right.
Yeah, at $200,000 to run $450,000 1,000 because we've had 227 businesses that have gone online and filled out the COVID compliant. So, but with that, it's still going to leave us another $500,000 or so unallocated. However, we're still waiting on information from both the sheriff and jail, but that's such a fluid budget right now because of everything that they're involved in with their health officer and medical costs of health staff and to dispatch. Public health is still, again, a fluid number because we don't know how long this is going to continue. So, and then what's the other one? Environmental health also having to be out. She's been taxed completely, and we're looking into would it allow us to get a part-time person to help out in that. So there are some of those in that $500,000 that we don't have the numbers yet, but the ones I have shown you are pretty solid. So that's what we've received. That's what we're looking at, and then again, we're trying to use as much of this money to also get back into the community and the local business. That's why I'm recommending 2,000 per, but that's you know, kind of at the board's discretion. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Morris? Thank you. That's great. Kind of connected to that, when is the business program loan grant being rolled out?
That's a good question. I don't know if Susie Cookums is on the line because we're still waiting on the underwriting portion of that.
Even though it's become now more grant-like?
It still has to be a forgivable loan, so it has to be the underwriting. We can't just write them a check and say they have to submit some documents to say as to what their hardship was, and then it has to be underwritten, and then we do it as a loan that is forgivable.
I thought she got an update from the state that it can now switch to a grant.
Okay, that's why I'm hoping she's on the line. If she's not, I'll have to get that information.
That was like a month ago, I think she told us.
No, so we'll just make a note that perhaps
Okay.
Next meeting she could report out on that for.
I'll get that information back to you prior to, and then we'll report out too.
Okay, and I have one other quick question regarding, I know our environmental health folks are very busy on the fire, and they were very busy prior on COVID education, and so are we, in order to kind of maintain our procedures in the view of the state, how are we accomplishing the education to the businesses and, you know, just what certain businesses can and can't do?
With a combination of personal contact, emails, social media, and our website, we're trying to accommodate all that. The issue we have is the environmental health officer, or environmental health specialist, is a licensed position, so it's tough to just go find us a second or third extra help so we get more on the line. But we're doing as much as we can to make sure that on our websites and our social media accounts that we're providing as much information, and then responding to those emails when we get them in. So we encourage people, if they're not finding what they're looking for, please email us so we can not only answer them, but we can then put that on a Q&A on our websites.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
John Finley has his hand up.
Mr. Supervisor Finley, please.
No, I have no questions for CAO.
Okay. Keith? Supervisor Groves, did you have?
I'm thinking, no, I'm fine for now.
Okay, so how can we, do you want us to bring this back as a agenda item for us to vote on? Or can we just simply, maybe county council, can we just get a consensus and say, go forward?
What I would like to do is have between now and the next board meeting, the time for the other departments to submit, so I can give you a more actual number of what I believe is going to be left over, and then bring that number to the board and have the board kind of choose where they think that variance. We may be able to go a little bit more, I don't know. So we'd like to have a little more solid number to present to the board on what won't be spent, so we can then present that to the board, and the board may have different ideas beyond a stipend, and then we can see if that falls within the parameters of the CARE Act funding.
Supervisor Groves?
I would like to see this as a voting issue, because I am one of the businesses that signed up, and I would have to recuse out of any cash funds. So having a nice, clean.
Okay, yeah, so
that you
we'll,
can move away from.
so yeah, I'll bring that back next board meeting with the flexible funding portion of it, and then we can ask the board for a vote, a direction and then a vote.
So is there a way we could separate the portion of the businesses separate from the rest so Keith can participate in the conversation around the other part?
Well, the other part will be actually hard cost that the county's already mandated and spent. So some of those, I mean, the board has the flexibility to say, no, we don't want to, pay for a certain portion, but the other portion will be actual hard cost that have incurred to the county. So they'll be that flexible, so he can participate in a portion of the hard cost, and then when we go to the flexible spending.
I appreciate that. Okay, so we look forward to seeing that at the next board meeting. Thank you. Is there any additional?
Yeah, I have one more. Our favorite topic, the strategic plan. I've been working with the consultant, sending him information. I sent dates out to the board on the possible dates for having the meeting. I know there's some concern about Zoom regarding, because we have here, but as I said, we kind of run a hybrid system. This would be completely Zoom. We wouldn't be filming. We wouldn't be using the camera system. We'd all be on our separate laptops. And as I've done in the past, I've been on several recruitment boards for other counties that were entirely Zoom, and they weren't using the YouTube and that, and they worked real well. So I'm confident if we all had our own laptop or computer in front of us, it wouldn't be an issue. But if it is board meetings, it's an issue. We can work around that. Because of COVID, it'd be very tough to get him up here. But I also, with that, if we are going to move forward, ask the board, he would like some other participation from outside groups that he can interview. Not necessarily, they won't sit in on the strategic plan, but he can interview. So I just kind of some direction from the board of who he should reach out to. I have some suggestions, but I'd like to kind of ask the board what they think groups he should reach out to and get some background on the flavor and the trends of Trinity County.
So I believe it was Supervisor Groves, and if my recollection is wrong, I apologize, that had concerns about the access for the public, and he had brought up TPAC. Was that a letter that you wrote, or?
That was not for this subject.
Okay, so.
That was the planning commission.
Okay, sorry. Too many different things running through my head through smoke filters. Okay, so you need the board members to respond to your...
Yeah, either give me direction just to choose, or if the board has some groups that they feel that would be appropriate for him to contact, reach out to. I mean, he's going to reach out to Craig Goodman, and because Craig's got really the best overview of our economic status. But is there other groups, just as it like with the local chambers?
Can you maybe just email us your thoughts? And
I can do that, yes.
make it easier. You can add or say yay or great.
I will send to the board.
So we have a starting point?
Yeah, I'll send to the board the groups that I think would be appropriate, and then take direction from that.
Because we could be here all day.
Yes.
Without a starting point.
Supervisor Groves?
Yeah, as it comes to the Zoom, I think it's important that we're all in the same room or the same physical area. I don't think this will be successful if we're zooming in. You are very limited on, I mean, you don't ask questions because it's hard to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And, you ask the important questions and then kind of shake your head and say close enough.
His hope with the Zoom was that he would have some breakout groups. He would separate two, and that way he could control and view, and he could talk to these two over here, and then click over and talk to the next two, as opposed to us all being in the same room. It makes it kind of difficult for him to hear individuals or individual groups. Because as we do with the interviews, you can put people in lobbies where they can talk amongst each other, but they can't talk to the group that's being interviewed. So you do have some ability to kind of control who's working, who's not. But I can talk to them and see if there's a way that we can all meet as a group, but still have our monitors in front of us so we can.
I guess maybe this is heading in a direction that's different than I first imagined, and I know Jeremy's pushed this hard. I didn't realize this is kind of becoming a county-wide strategic plan.
Right, that was just a board thing.
I thought it was, yeah, for us as a group to have a focus on a strategic plan as a group, so that we could, where we disagree, we can walk away from, where we agree, we can put extra effort in that. So, I don't know, Jeremy, you're a huge proponent of this. What do you think?
Let me get some clarification real quick. This is a board-driven general plan. The other groups will not be participating in the decision-making process. He just wants to get a flavor of the county, and he wants to talk to the other groups, find out what his concerns are, so he can ask the board, okay, when I reached out to the Growers Association, they have this concern, so the board, he's got a basis to come from. But when the strategic plan would be under creation, it would be this board doing that. You're not going to have outside entities involved in the decision-making or the direction of it. But he would like to reach out to local organizations that have a stake in the economic development of the community, so he can find out what, to get the most information as we create the plan. So it would be the board making the final decision, and we wouldn't be sitting in here with other groups talking to the board. He would just have that information in his pocket, knowing what direction and what concerns are out there. It's,
you know, that could easily take him 6 months to a year to meet with every group in Trinity County.
well, he's not going to meet with every group. He wants to meet with just a few, and just a few representatives of those groups. And we set a deadline to be done. Let's see, if we started on the week, we were going to have it, he was going to have everything done. It doesn't show November, does it? Can you switch that to November, please? So we were going to get everything to him by and he was going to make contacts. I was going to get him some information. He was going to have all the information compiled, I believe, by the 5th, and out to the board. And then I have some surveys to send to the board that I will send out this week. But I believe I was going to get him all the information that I had on the county by the 23rd, and he was going to make sure he reached out to whoever we recommend by the 30th, and then he would get everything back to us around the 4th, 5th, 6th, and then we would start the following week with the meetings with the board, which we have. He looked at 2 on the 10th, 1 on the 13th, and 1 on the 17th, and that would be the extent. And then he would be able to develop the strategic plan and present it back to the board.
And that's December?
That's November.
So can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Could we approach it that way, but if we find that it's not working, adjust it for the other, like if the first one goes great, we can continue. The first meeting like that goes great, but if it doesn't, is there a way that we can then figure out a different way to meet?
Then you meet by first one, try by Zoom, and if that's not working, then...
Correct. I would like to, I think with COVID, I think it's the wise way to proceed, but I do have the same concerns that Keith has. So I'd like to say, we'll try that, but if it doesn't work, I would like to have a way that we could adjust it depending on the failures.
Yeah, no, we want this to be successful. And the only way it's successful is if everybody is able to participate, so absolutely.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's fine. Right.
Supervisor Finley?
Yes. I have no comment regarding this.
Okay. Supervisor Groves, does that help put you at ease?
Yeah, I'm still interested in Jeremy's thoughts.
I'm really eager to see the outcome of this study and to put our trust into the process that this professional has developed over his years of experience. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get a non-biased outside of the area gauge on our potential economic opportunities ahead of us, and then look at that and go from there.
So do you feel like you have clear direction?
I do, thank you.
Was there any additional reports?
Nope, that ends my report, thank you very much.
Okay, reports from the members of the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Brown.
The only thing I really have to report out is from the September 16th RCRC meeting. I learned that, or we were told that Greg Norden will be retiring from the RCRC presidential position. So they are in the recruitment process now as far as the statewide biomass project and how it relates to Trinity County or not. I've been trying to maintain a close relationship and communications with President Norden as well as some of his staff about any opportunities in Trinity County we may have with the woody biomass collection down the line. Other than that, I have no out-of-county travel.
Supervisor Finley?
Yes, I have no out-of-county travel, and I would like to thank the deputy sheriffs of Trinity County and all law enforcement for the exceptional work they've done in southern Trinity. I wish I had money that was spent in other places to throw at them. Also would like to thank Christy and Diane for the work and the work that's coming up. Christy's done an incredible job. And just a note, there was an email, a public release that went out about an hour ago from Health and Human Services. And the last paragraph, the first sentence of the last paragraph talks about a public meeting that is listed as the month of August. And I believe you've been typing August fire, August complex so much that it should be October. Let me know, or if it is changed to this evening, October 6th for the public meeting on Facebook. Please let everyone know. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. And perhaps, Susie, can you look into that real quick? What he's talking about, we can announce that before the end of today, that correction.
This is Rick. There is a public meeting tonight at 7:30 online, and you can go to the Chester Trinity Facebook page, and it'll have directions on how to access the meeting.
That was really
Thank you, Rick. Did you send out that public release from Health and Human Services today?
No, I did not, but I can see how you would accidentally put down August. That's usually.
Madam Chair, that public or announcement release came from Mike Catoni and Health and Human Services.
Okay, thank you. Okay, reports from, we're still on number 3, Supervisor Morris.
Not technically out of town, but I would have, but we're Zooming these days, so a bunch of CSAC meetings, of course, on all the latest events happening, and as I mentioned earlier, I've been working on, the small counties have been working on some flexibility under COVID. Air quality, of course, couple things air quality has put in last few months, even before this fire, some extra monitors for air quality, and I'll get those exact locations. Also, there's been over the last couple of years a big opportunity, and they've taken upon it, Trinity County residents, for the clean air wood stoves that have been available through air quality. So our residents are really taking advantage of that, we were told at our last meeting. And also, just as a result of air quality, a lot of people go to the Purple Air Quality website. Those aren't regulated by EPA. So it was clarified for us as board members They have to run those measurements through another factor to get a little bit closer to what is going on, because they're a much less expensive monitor than what like an agency like Air Quality would use. If you go to Air Now, that is the more national website that will give you a lot, and our information from Air Quality goes into the EPA, and Air Now website does give you that overall air quality measurement, and it includes the purple air monitoring. So there is some difference. Purple air is a little bit more, not to say the air isn't bad, it has been bad for quite a few weeks. But I just want folks to understand there is a difference when they're looking at the purple air monitoring system versus something from EPA or Air Now. And there's some great maps out there where some of the monitors are throughout the region. So I just wanted to add that clarification as people are really paying attention to the air quality these days. Right, Lisa? That was it, yeah. Thank you, Supervisor Gross.
Just to give you an update, Carrie Bailey did say that she would put the ballot box on the reader board location.
Oh, that's great.
So
Thank
she
you.
knows
She
that
was
on
listening.
the chat. She is listening. My only thing of importance was the refinement process for Trinity Restoration still is moving forward. We're stepping these up into monthly meetings to try to get that process streamlined. So that's all I have for now.
And as far as committee meetings that were to happen, last night's fire council got canceled, or fire chief's meeting got canceled at really late due to the ongoing emergencies. The disaster council got also was postponed until the present disaster. We can resume our regular meetings. It's personal, but it's county. The annual Thanksgiving in Hayfork will not be taking place, and so this is a huge disappointment for our community, and I want to make sure that the people that are the recipients have plenty of time to get their food staples. I know Thanksgiving is next month, but for a lot of people that we serve, it's a limited income, so they have to really budget. So that's a public service announcement. And once again, as you've all indicated, I just want to say thank you to the YouTube and the Facebook. It's really taken a big load off of my phone blowing up. The Alaska team has done an outstanding job. They've become, in their own right, superstars in the community, and I just want to, I just as a community really say thank you to all the efforts that they did for the public and social media. I know COVID is the reason why we've gone to Zoom, but I do believe going forward, once COVID's gone, this has allowed our county to be connected in a way that I hope continues even when COVID goes away, because there seems to be much more honest communication by people who know what they're talking about, giving showing the maps and giving their reports out. I think it's helped to stifle some of, what did Larry call, bad juju? So that's a side note, but glad to report out on it. So we will move on. Is the board okay just moving into county matters? Everybody good to go? Okay, good. Ladies, you good? Dan? Okay, so we'll move forward. County matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. Board, is there any reason to pull these out of order? No? John? No. So is there anybody on staff or public that would like to see these pulled out of order? So Ms. M is saying no, so we're just going to take them as they come then. Human Resources, item 4.1, authorize the Human Resource Director to transfer 14 years applicable longevity from the prior government employer to Trinity County for the Public Health Branch Director promotion and pursuant to Trinity County Code Section 2.60.410, parentheses D through E, authorize the Director of Health and Human Services to promote employee number 02317 to Public Health Branch Director at rank M258, step F, effectively July 1st, 2020. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month for a Public Health Branch Director at E step is $13,094 and at F step is $13,693. No impact to the general fund. And HR, Miss Shelley Nelson.
Good morning. Thank you. This is Shelley Nelson, HR Director. So the Health and Human Services Director has promoted an employee to the Public Health Branch Director position. The county code dictates that when an employee is being promoted, they would be within 5% of their current salary. And in order to meet that requirement, it would place this employee at F step, which per code is a longevity step. And longevity steps require the employee to have been working for the county for 7 years. And this particular employee has only been working for the county for 4. So we did want to recognize their long-term county government work from another California county and ask if you would recognize that and allow me to transfer that so that we could promote this individual to the F step.
Thank you for that explanation. Board questions?
Yes, Finley does.
Thank you, sir.
Shelley, obviously you're presenting this to us so there wouldn't be any legal problems regarding this transfer.
No, correct. And we have done this for some prior recruitments for other positions as well.
Okay, thank you very much for checking that out.
And there is no impact to the general fund, just so we're all clear on that. So I will open it up to the public. Is there anybody on the line? Having seen none, I'll bring it back to the board and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Brown and a second by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris, how do you vote?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Brown.
Aye.
Supervisor Grove.
Aye.
Supervisor Finley.
Aye.
Supervisor Chapter.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 4.2, modify the departmental allocation list for Health and Human Services Division to read for employment and training worker 1 or 2 or 3, effective October 6, 2020. Approximate cost and salary and benefits per month at A step for an employment and training worker 1 is $5,067, or an employment and training worker 2 is $5,500, for an employment and training worker 3 is $5,979. No impact to the general fund. Michelle?
Yes, so Health and Human Services is requesting to increase their allocation in the employment and training worker series from 3 to 4, so it'd be adding 1 allocation. And the reason they're wanting to expand services here is requiring more intensive case management and family engagement, including but not limited to comprehensive job search services, housing stability, and family case management and planning. There is money in the budget to fund the additional allocation, and as I mentioned on the staff report, there's no impact to the general fund for this.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Is there any questions from the Board of Supervisors? Supervisor Finley, any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you. Members of the public? Bringing it back to the board. Entertain a movement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Groves. Supervisor Groves, how do you
Aye.
vote? Thank you. Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Finley?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Transportation, 4.3, approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for Airport Operations Department 1852, decreasing services and supplies by $10,293 and increasing interfund expense by $20,450. No impact to the general fund. Current cash balance in the Airport Operation Fund 152 is $42,634. Rick, are you on the line?
Sorry about that. Yes, I am.
Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, at the end of the year, we had a lot of expenses that were interfund transfer that applied to the airport. Probably the biggest one of the biggest ones was that they mowed lawns at the airports in the final 2 weeks of the fiscal year. And also there was a CARES grant that had come out earlier that required some time from the director, which ended up running up that particular expense high. So what we've done, and this happens a lot of times in the past, but we usually have capacity in the budget to transfer from one account to another or to carry this over to the following year. But a lot of these expenses we do have revenues to back them up. It's just, unfortunately, we did have higher than expected expenses at the end of the year. So this is just to balance books so that we can go in the new fiscal year. But it does not, at the end, it will not have any effect on the budget as we offset it with other revenues. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Supervisor Finley?
None.
Thank you. Public comment? Seeing no public comment, bringing it back to the board, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Groves, second by Supervisor Morris. Supervisor Morris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Supervisor Groves?
Aye.
Supervisor Finley?
No.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Aye. Item 4.4, approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for Department of Transportation, Department 3000, increasing prior year expenses by $67,213 and approve a budget adjustment for fiscal year 1920 for Transportation Commission, Department 8237, increasing prior year revenues by $67,213. No impact to the general fund. Current cash balance in Department of Transportation Fund 102 is $4,398,194. Current cash balance in Transportation Commission is $40,448. Any questions, board? Supervisor Finley, do you have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Rick, go ahead and, I am so sorry. Just jumping right to the...
As you know, we recently completed the access study to the Trinity Alps from state highways. It was a joint project between the county and the U.S. Forest Service. Interestingly, we finished the report earlier than expected, and it caused an unexpected consequence in we were not able to access some money because we were accessing it earlier. So we had planned on this year undertaking the RTP, which is the Regional Transportation Plan, and that was going to be paid for through a combination of road funds and transportation planning funds. So what we decided to do was to take the transportation planning funds that we're going to use for the report, and you apply those towards the RTP and take the cash or the road fund and use road fund monies to pay for the report. And so at the end of the day, there was no net change. It's just about the timely use of when we use particular funds. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, now I'll open it up for questions. Go ahead, Mr. Finley. Supervisor?
No questions.
No
Nothing.
questions.
Thank you.
Supervisor Brown?
Brown.
Rose? Morris? Opening it to the public? No one in the public, bringing it back to the board.
So
Entertain.
moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, Finley.
Thank you, Supervisor Finley.
Motion by Supervisor Brown, second by Supervisor Finley. Supervisor Finley, how do you vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Brown?
Aye.
Supervisor Grove?
Aye.
Supervisor Morris?
Yes.
Supervisor Chadwick?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Before we go into closed session, we will report out on the previous closed session. Supervisor Brown, would you report out at these for the special board last week?
Yes, I will happily. Regarding item 3.1, direction was given to staff. Regarding item 3.2, it was postponed into another date. And regarding subsequent item 2, direction was given to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will report out for, I believe it was September 15, is that correct? Yeah. And I also have a 3.1, direction given to staff, and item 3.2, the board was, a report was given to the board. So that brings us current with our closed sessions of the past. So going into today's closed session for the afternoon session, 5.1 Government Code 54954.5 parentheses C, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, number of cases 1. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to comment on this? None? Moving on, announcing item closed session 5.2, Governmental Code Section 54954.5 parentheses C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, number of cases 1. Curtis Brent Wright versus County of Trinity, Trinity County Superior Court case number 20CV097. And with that, we will adjourn the open session.